Welcome to our video about pre-point exercises. We are here today with Claudia and Millie, and I'm Jo from Move Through Life, and today we're going to teach you how to get your feet, your legs, your turnout muscles and your core strong enough to be able to progress to point. We believe that adults are entirely capable of dancing on point. They just need to have the right exercises to prepare their bodies. So let's get started. We might start with Claudia giving a really great exercise. A lot of those we're doing today will be TheraBand exercises. Now TheraBand you can get in different colours which represent different weights. So a green one is much heavier, for example, than a yellow one. So you can build up your strength by progressing to more heavy TheraBands, and these are really cheap. You can buy them from Kmart for very little. So anyway, over to Claudia and her first exercise for foot strength.
Alrighty, so something that I loved doing and still love doing to keep up my strength is I just wrap the TheraBand around the ball of my foot and the toes, and I just flex it, and then I'm going to isolate the ankle, point that, and then point the toes. And then flex the toes, flex the ankle. Really slow, really isolated. And I am also thinking about, maybe I'll face this way, instead of just going straight down and potentially signalling the foot, you want to think of it going out so that it follows the line of the leg.
Yeah, slight eversion of
Yeah,
the foot. Yeah.
Slight eversion.
So with something like that, you might want to do 15 repetitions on each foot.
That's
if you find that a little bit too much, you could start with a lower number and gradually build up. All right, so Millie, would you like to offer an exercise?
Yes, so also a TheraBand exercise, and I'll use my inside leg. So wrapping it around, and we're just going to make sure that the knee stays pointed upwards, and we're going to do outward circles, nice and controlled, inverting, and coming up, back out, down, invert, and back to neutral. So what we were looking for is not using the thigh or the knee at any point there. It's just the ankle that we're doing, and then you can go the other way. So inwards, down, and outwards, and back up. Okay.
Great. All right, I'm going to do one that's a little bit similar and does a similar thing to the circle one, but doesn't do quite as much. But I love this one. This one is for foot eversion. So what Claudia was talking about with not wanting the foot to sickle. So you're going to wrap your TheraBand around the outside of your foot, and you want to hold it over here. So not here, but over here. And start with it in a very inverted position, and then you're just going to evert and come back. And again, all of these, you want to do them slow and sustained rather than quick. And again, 10 to 15 repetitions on each foot. So this is going to help you develop the shape of the foot that you need for point work.
And would that get up the calf as well?
Yeah, it works the perineal muscles up here as well, so it's going to help. Yeah. Okay. All right, so Claudia, do you want to give us another exercise?
Yes, so again with the TheraBand, any strength that you need is great. So you're going to take your TheraBand and you're just going to wrap it around the big toe. And the exact same thing, so you're just pointing and flexing. And it may cramp, that is absolutely fine. Just shake it out and try again. That's just because the muscle isn't used to it. And you're going to feel it all through here and all through here. It's going to help shape the foot and strengthen the foot. You need the first, like the big toe and the first toe to be really, really strong, because that's where the majority of your weight is when you're on point. So you really want to develop that inner muscle there.
And it's also the toes, this toe strength really helps you get up on the box.
Definitely.
If you're having trouble getting onto point.
Yeah, and that extra articulation that you don't need on demi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Millie, do you want to give another one?
Yes, I'd like to show you a nice little arch strengthening exercise that does not involve TheraBands. I'm going to have to stand up and you're only going to see my feet.
That's the most important bit.
All right, so coming in here. So let me show you first off. This is called doming. So what we want to do is keep our toes nice and flat, and we're going to pull up through our arch. And we're going to make sure it feels a little bit like we're not scrunching, we're pushing with the middle part of our middle knuckle of our toe downwards to the floor. So from the side, it looks a little like this. Push down, and you can see that it's lifting through the arch there.
And it's really hard to do. The first few times you do it, you might feel like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
But the pushing down of the toes really helps, doesn't it?
Yes, we're really thinking about pushing down and lifting the arch away. And a lot of it is actually happening through the middle part that you can't see on camera. So again, we're not scrunching away from the floor, we're pushing down. Okay?
It's a great one. Right. Well, I like it one that's actually for turnout, because being able to hold your turnout is a really, really important part in being able to balance on point when you don't have a bar. So this one, your legs are extended in front, and you put the TheraBand in front of your feet, and then you're going to feed it through like this. I like this one because I feel like I'm a horse. I'm going, yep. I always laugh when I do this one. Anyway, so from here, I want my feet to be close together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them out and back in. And we do this again, 15 to 10 repetitions, and you'll really feel that underneath here, and you'll feel it a little bit in your adductors, and it's a really great one for the turnout. So what we'll do with that one before we go into our next exercise. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Claudia. She's going to give you a core exercise, because core is super important for point work. So over to you.
Alrighty, so this one is for the transverse abdominis, which is the more deep core muscle that tends to get a little bit forgotten about. We all think about the rectus abdominis, which is on top. It's the bigger muscle. So we're going to come onto our back. You can have your hands by your side. I like to just prop them under my lower back. So we're going to bring our legs up to a tabletop position, and you don't want your knees to surpass 90 degrees because that is going to turn off the transverse abdominis. So you want to keep them at the 90-degree angle so that your lower stomach is really switched on, and you're just going to tap your toes quite close to you, then a little bit out, then a little bit more out, and then scoot back up. And again, not going past that 90-degree angle. So 1, 2, 3, and up. Honestly, 10 to 15 reps is plenty, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of these exercises at once, but you can work up to more or you can start with less, totally up to you. But that's a real good tummy burner.
I think that might appear in my jazz class next term. Okay, Millie, your turn.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a glute exercise. Now, glutes are very important as well, being part of the structure that supports your hips and make sure that they're nice and stable when you're up on point or standing on one leg or pretty much any kind of balancing. So we are going to do some glute exercises. We're going to lie on our back and make sure that our hips are nice and neutral, so there should be a little gap at the lower back. Keeping our legs nice and close to our bottoms, and we're going to press up. Now what we're going to do is start with a nice hip tilt downwards, and then push up and up and up, and squeeze at the top, and then come down the way we came. So top part first, and through, back down to the bottom and into neutral. So again, we pull in through our transverse abdominis, which feels a bit like you're pulling your belly button through to your spine, and then we push using our glutes up, all the way up, and then back down. This was not a great exercise to be doing in a skirt, but here we are. And that is a bridge.
Fabulous. All right. I'm going to do a turnout exercise. So what I've got here is, instead of the TheraBands, you can do it with TheraBands, but these are just loops. And the ones I've got here, they're great. You can't forget which one is the light one, because it says light, and medium and heavy and extra heavy. I'm going to go for heavy. The extra heavy is really heavy. But again, it's something you can build up. So So I'll do my scoot forward. Just going to put this around my legs, just above the thighs. Try and make sure it's all correct when we start. I'm going to do a clam. So laying on my side, I've got my legs in a 90-degree angle to my body. So I'm kind of like 2 right angles. And I'm just going to keep my heels together, so you don't want to think about your toes together, but your heels stay together as you lift up, so you're pivoting your heels on each other. And then slowly lower down. And that's really hard work. The slower you do it, the more you're going to get out of it. Particularly on the lowering down phase, I think we often think, oh, get it up, and oh, relax. Better to have a nice, controlled, eccentric muscle contraction as you come down. And I'll do one more, just in case you didn't see. And then we're done. And of course you want to do it on both sides so that you're even. And again, 10 to 15 repetitions, depending on how many other exercises you're doing and how strong you're feeling and how heavy your TheraBand is, or your loop is. Okay, now we've got our standing up ones.
I have one more.
Oh, you've got another on the floor? Sure.
On your back.
Oh, I'll let you
So,
go.
yes, this one is supine beats. So hopefully you'll be able to see all of my legs in the frame. But again, we're going to start lying down on our backs. We want our hips to be in a neutral position, so that little gap that I was speaking about earlier under there. And you can tuck your hands under if you feel the need to maintain that. So you're lying on your back. And what we want to do is bring both of our legs up and stretched and into fifth from here. From here, we're just going to do a little beat as we come down. Slowly, slowly, drawing in. Now this will work out both your inner thighs, your adductor muscles, as well as your transverse abdominis. You need to keep that pulled in to make sure that you are not doing this as you come down and pulling the rest of your body.
And another important thing to consider in that as well is you may not be able to lower your legs as low as Millie just did. You may, who knows, but the lower your legs go, the more intense it becomes. If you start to feel pain in your lower back and your abdominals are fatigued, then don't go. That is fine, that will still give you a good workout. So just be careful with that one on your lower back.
Absolutely. Again, keep it supported if you need to. Keep this pulled in. If this gets tired, stop. Right.
And like magic, Claudia is standing up and she's going to give you a standing exercise.
Okay, so we are going to do the classic 1-foot calf raise. So often, in ballet when we think about our rises, we think about being in first position, but it's really important to do them in parallel as well. That's going to turn on this muscle here, which on point, you are at a risk of like rolling a little bit, so that's just going to help your ankle like bounce back without the risk of straining it or like really hurting like your knee or something like that. So just in parallel on one leg, whole back of the leg is turned on, and we're just going to rise up and come down, and rise up and come down. The slower, the more painful. I recommend starting with 4 and taking 4 counts to come up and 4 counts to come down and working up to 8. Also, as you can see, I am really on the ball of my foot even when I come down, because if you come down and you go back to your neutral weight placement, the calf muscles turn off. So you want to keep them engaged, keep them switched on, so really stay on that slight incline so that you're on the ball of your foot to really extra fire it up.
And like magic, Millie is now standing and somehow Claudia's appeared over here. Anyway, over to Millie.
Alright, so my exercise is a 2-legged calf raise, but we're going to help ourselves out with correct alignment this time, as well as a bit of strength building. So what I've got here is a little bouncy ball. You can find them pretty much anywhere these days. And I've raided my children's toy box with this one.
Yeah, I've stolen my cat's playbook.
What we want to do is there are 2 useful places that you can put this. One is just above the ankles while you're standing in parallel. And the other one is just below at around the inside of your heel. And what we want to do from here is again take those risers up and come down. Up. And again, as Claudia said, we're just going to kiss the floor with our heels before we come back up again to as far as we can over our toes. So what that does is that keeps that lovely alignment between your knee, your ankle, and the first 3 toes of your foot so that you are not which is very, very bad in point because you will fall off the tip of your shoe.
Okay, there's been another magic moment and now I am standing. Have I taken that joke too far? I don't know, we'll see. See what you think. Don't do it just like me. Okay, this one is for your turnout and it's a standing one. I've got a normal TheraBand here. I'm going to put it around my thigh and I'm going to tie it to something, in this case a ballet bar, which is perfect. But if you don't have a ballet bar, you can use other things. So I'm just going to tie that. Yeah, something that doesn't move. Because you know, if it moves, a chair that moves is probably not going to be helpful. So I've got my leg in a parallel retire, and all I'm going to do is turn it out. And it might slide up your leg, that's okay. It will still work. And again, let me just do sets of them. Again, just and however many you do, if you start with one, that's better than none. And then over time, the ways that you can continue to build your strength, just using some core conditioning principles, are increased frequency, increased intensity, or increased duration. So increased frequency might be how many times a week you do it or how many repetitions you do in a single setting. Increased intensity might be the heaviness of the weight of the TheraBand or even how tight you tie it. And of course, same in any of the other exercises. And increased duration might be, for example, taking a longer time to do the movement, or if you were doing some other kind of thing like running for longer. So we're all sitting like this so that we can show you something about the shape of your feet. So while I do believe that most adults can get to a point of being able to dance on point if they put in the hard work and they have got training supervision that will be safe. There is one exception, and that is when you don't have the mobility in your ankles to reach a certain point. So let's all stretch our feet. You might see there's variations. For me, I've got really curly toes. There's not a lot of curve here. Mine are fairly straight, whereas you see Claudia's got much more of a curve just here in her feet in the instep. And Millie's got pretty good ones too. I've got pretty crappy feet, to be honest, I have to say. But one of the good things about it is I've got really strong feet and it's easier for me to get on point than it might be for someone with a really good arch. While we all want to have beautiful arches and they look fantastic, it is harder for those people to dance on point. But exactly, hypermobile. So what we want is someone to have at least as much mobility as that, and I'm going to say I'm probably one of the worst. So about that much. If you try to stretch your feet like this, and this angle here is about here, then you can do some work on it. But until you get to at least that 180 degrees, you probably will struggle getting over the box on point. But there are some things you can do about it. Maybe. Caveat is maybe. Don't do things like stick your feet under the couch. Also, you can get special feet stretches, but they are controversial in that you don't have a lot of control. But there is something you can do for your feet which is under your control, and that is to, I'm about to sit with my foot like this, and I'm going to stretch my foot, and then I'm going to take one hand and put it here, and one hand and put it here, and I'm going to use that to stretch. And then you want to hold it for, you might say, 20 seconds, and then release. And you might want to do that, say, 3 times on each foot. And I can really feel that stretching here and along here. Now there's not a lot of mobility in the feet based on what you're born with, but this can help a little bit and you're totally in control of it. If you start to feel pain in your Achilles, it's time to stop. So you should feel the stretch across the top of the foot, you shouldn't feel Achilles pain. If you've got Achilles pain, then you're going too far or you've done it too much. So that is one way that you might be able to increase this angle here, and that's the only thing that's really going to stop you getting up on point. Well, I probably shouldn't say the only, but one thing that could. But other than that, I truly believe adults can dance on point. We all have our bones all set in place and not like young children who aren't fully developed. So I do encourage you to give point work a try. At Move Through Life, our whole goal is about supporting, encouraging and inspiring adults to dance. And we know a lot of adults have the dream of dancing on point. So we have a specialist point program for those adults who want to do it. You don't have to do point work if you do ballet with us, but if you do, we have a way to get you there. So that involves, number one, if you've never done any ballet before, you need to do some ballet first, at least 12 months. And depending on what you may have done previously and your natural ability, you might then be able to start progressing towards point. We then talk about taking it into a pre-point program where you do things like the TheraBand exercises that we've done, calf raises, abdominal and core and turnout and leg strengthening. And then we bring you into point shoes and you start wearing the point shoes but not weight bearing. So starting to get the strength in the feet to actually be able to point your foot in a point shoe, which is actually hard, and to balance in point shoes, really hard. So then you start to progress to doing point work, weight bearing point work at the bar and eventually in the centre. So we are the teachers of the point program at Move Through Life, and in 2022 Millie will be teaching the pre-point program and Claudia will be teaching the point class of people who are already on point. If you've done point before, you can choose to go into the pre-point program to build up your strength again, or depending on your existing strength, whether or not you could go into the point class. But we do have an assessment process to help you decide and make sure you're ready and that you're safe. Our point classes and pre-point class will be on Saturday afternoons in Glengarry at 2:15 p.m. Is that correct? Yeah, 2:15 p.m. So our website is movethroughlife.com.au. We are at Move Through Life on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, although we don't do much on Twitter.
And we're in Adelaide.
Yes, we're in Adelaide, South Australia. That pretty much concludes our pre-point conditioning video. I hope you found some helpful things in there. If you've got a dream to dance on point, there is, for most people, no reason why you can't. As an adult, there may be some adults who have a little bit of limitation in the bone structure, but if you have a teacher who tells you you can't do it, don't be discouraged. Work on your conditioning and then have that discussion again. So good luck, and I hope you'll be dancing on point soon.
Bye.
See you later.